And we're back, and it's COMP397, and it's the winter 2016 semester, week 4, lesson 4, part 3 of our broadcast. The first two parts, first part was around assignment number 2, so if you want to see that, go to the part 1. And the second part was all around preloading, which is a new thing we just talked about, a new topic we're talking about today, right? Preloading, right? So one of the questions that might come up on a little quiz in the future is, what is preloading? You know? And I want you to think about it. It's like caching all of our images and sounds. We haven't done any sounds, but by the way, that string, the stuff we preload with our manifest, you can preload anything. I can preload sounds, I can preload images, I can preload sprite sheets, I can preload whatever I want, right? As long as I preload the stuff, I'm good to go. And we're going to see how we're going to do that over time. So that's number 1. Okay, but now we want to get into this slot machine stuff. And remember, we're starting off with poor slot machine that looks like this. Right? It's pretty ugly. And we don't have a canvas, and we don't have anything. Where do I start? I'm going to ask some people, where do I start? Selena, where would I start? If I was going to do a slot machine like this, give me your opinion. What would I do first? The first thing that I would do. You're being recorded for all time, right? No pressure. But you're being held. YouTube. It's on YouTube now. For now, forever. I might have to give you some royalties.
Index
right?
file or?
No, my project. What do I do with my project? How do I start my project, this new slot machine project that I'm going to make for this class, right? I'm going to take this existing logic, make a new project with a UI and everything. Where do I start? Finding an image for the slot machine. I could start there. What else? Anyone else have anything else to say? Where would I start? Creating a canvas. Well, yeah, okay. One more. Bullet hole. Where do I start, right? I love his bullet hole screen, right? That's why I call him bullet hole. Not for any disrespect. No disrespect, right? Where would I start? Sorry? Creating the scenes? Where would I start? Well, no one's giving me the right answer yet, right? This is why, because no one knows where to start, right?
Design.
What was that? Design? Okay, design. What about that? Creating the project, right? Actually getting my template, right? I want to create an empty template with all the stuff that I got, man. I made all this work. I did the scenes, I don't want to redo all that and start from scratch. I want to kind of take my last project that's working, rename it, create a new Git repository, deploy it on GitHub, deploy it on Azure, and get it all ready to go. That's what I want to do first. And that's what I recommend for you. When you start your assignment 2, hey guys and girls, start assignment 2 right now with me, right? Let's do it. All you need to do is do what I'm doing right now, and you've already started. This is the key, before we do any planning, right? Because we want a container for my stuff. This is the first step, okay? So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to use the Dragon, and I've already got this thing, right? Here's my Dragon. I've got a local copy of the Dragon right here, but if you don't, I recommend, I'm just going to drop out of this for a second, right, to go and show you. Here's my Dragon, the new Dragon is what it's called, right? I'm going to go up online, right, up on Centennial, right? And I'm going to look at Dragon, right? And if you notice, if I just search for Dragon under Centennial College, it'll come up with the new Dragon, which was updated 10 minutes ago. That's the one you want to download. So go grab that. It's a clean project. We know it works because I've been using it just now, right? And you want to download the zip, or you can also clone this on the desktop, depending on what you want to do. If you notice this little button down here, it says clone to your desktop, and you can use it on the GitHub desktop with the desktop tool if you don't want to be a command line person. So download this and do it. And when you download it, you want to rename this thing. Now I've got this name here. It's called the Dragon, the new Dragon. I'm going to rename this thing. I'm going to copy it here, and I'm going to duplicate it, which is like copying and pasting it in the same folder. Here's my duplication. Boom, right? And I'm going to rename this thing, right? Slot machine, because that's what it's called. Demo. You're going to rename it assignment 2, right? To start off with me, right? So I'm going to call this slot machine demo. Now there's some stuff we need to do here. For me, because I'm basing it off my files, and if you're going to base it off your files, let's say you really love your structure for assignment 1. You love what you did with assignment 1. You don't want to lose the stuff you did with assignment 1. You don't care about what I did. You don't want to preload anything. You just want to use assignment 1 and base your assignment 2 of assignment 1. You need to do this, all right? I'm calling mine slot machine demo, right? But unfortunately, when I do a copy of my files locally, and you may have this problem as well, I have this old Git repository which is an exact duplicate that points to my repository online, I need to get rid of it. On the Mac, what this means is, I'm going to open it up here on Visual Studio Code to show you. Here's Visual Studio Code. Drag and drop my new project with the right name into Visual Studio Code, right? It looks identical, which is okay. And notice how it says the new dragon. That's not good. I want to kind of take my slot machine and drop it in here, right? Why is it not working? There we go. Slot machine, right? So it's down here. Notice that it says slot machine demo up here, right? Which is what I'm going to put up online in a second. Okay, cool. I have a problem. I already have a Git repository. I need to get rid of it. So I'm going to right click down here below the tsconfig.json file, right click, and may open up in terminal or in command prompt, right? And I need to get rid of it. Now for you, you might be better doing it if you're a Windows user in Windows Explorer. Get rid of the .git file that exists. I'm going to go to reveal in or open in command prompt. For me, locally on the Mac or Linux machines, I can do something like this. I can say remove rm minus rf for recursively force, right? Which is dangerous. If you do this, you can wipe out your entire system, right? If you're not careful, if you have super user access. .git, right? That's what I want, and it'll remove .git from my project, right? Yay, it's gone. I don't have a Git repository anymore. This is fantastic, right? So what I need to do now, right? What I need to do for this .git is I need to make a new one. So let's do that. So I'll say git init. Okay. I don't want to add anything yet. Notice how I have 262 files here that is showing up here on Visual Studio Code, right? Because I just did it init. I don't want to add anything yet because I need to change a few things here first. Hey, what is it? How do I recursively remove a folder in Windows? What's the command for that? Does anyone remember? So I go to command prompt and I want to recursively remove a folder, right, on the command prompt. What's the command? Oh, guys. Was that? RMDIR will not recursively remove anything. You have to make a switch. So recursively remove folder or directory in Windows, right? Command prompt. How do I do that? And if you look at it, it says how to recursively delete directory for command line. And it gives you this little code here. It says remove rmdir /s, right? It says it removes the directory, that's what's /s? Hold on a second. Oh, here it is, /s. So whatever the directory is called, /s, just removes it. Right? That's with prompts. Without prompts, it's /s/q. So quiet. Remove it quietly. That's how you do it in Windows. Okay, so if you're going to do it by the command line. The other way to do it is to expose the folders by showing hidden files and folders. Go into Windows Explorer, right-click on the .git folder and delete it. All right, it should show up in your project folder, this new one you've created. Otherwise, my friends, you're going to be pointing at the exact same repository that's up online, and I don't want to do that. I want to make a new repository locally and a new repository online. I don't want to continue what I had before. It'll mess you up. Please don't do that. If you're continuing another one, if you're just following me, just get init, because you're not going to get my repository when you download the zip file. You won't get that. All right, because I'm just saying if you're doing it for yourself, if you're continuing from a previous project, right, you need to remove the previous version of Git there. Okay, cool. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay, cool. So I've removed it and I've got everything good. I need to make some changes to my Visual Studio Code here. One of the things I need to do is in my index.html, notice how it says the new dragon, and that doesn't make any sense. I need to rename this whatever it's going to be called. I'm going to call this thing, slot machine. That's what it is. Cool. And anywhere else I have slot machine, I want to change the name in my code as well. If I have anywhere else, like for example, my README file. In my README file, it's going to be, slot machine demo, right? That's my README file. It's going to change, right? And it says, even my text, the COMP397, the new dragon template. No, man. It's going to be the slot machine project, for things. So the slot machine demo project for web game programming at Centennial, right? So I've changed my README file. I've changed my index file. I made a couple changes before I do a git add dot, right? Because I don't want to add that again. I just want to fix up my project so it's a new project. And I've got everything loaded in here. What else do I need to do? Some of my assets are messed up, right? I don't need any of these assets, like my back button and my start button, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I need some of them, but I don't need my intro cave. I don't need my left cave and my left cave button and my right cave and my right cave button. I don't need any of that stuff. So I want to get rid of it now, right? So let's get rid of it. So the fastest way to do it is on the operating system, obviously, because I can do more file manipulation here on my operating system. So here's my slot machine demo. And let me just go into it so you can see it. I got my assets. Under assets, I have my images. And I want to get rid of the stuff that I don't need. So my back button I might use. I might need my next button or my restart button. That's okay. But my intro cave, all this stuff here, I want to get rid of it because it doesn't make any sense for my new project, right? So get rid of it all. It's just examples, right? My next button I'll keep. Right cave. Move that over. A start over button, I might keep that too because my start over button is specific, right? So back, next button, start button, and start over button I'll keep. The rest I've deleted. That means that I got to update my my game.ts file, right, to reflect that. So because in my game.ts file, right, in my core, in my assets, I have intro cave, left button, all this stuff's got to go. So I'm gonna clean up my manifest a little bit because I don't have those anymore, right? So my right cave, my right button, all this stuff's gone. Yay, I got some simple button images and I've got this stuff here. Okay, cool, we're almost there, right? How about my scenes? My scenes are messed up too. My intro scene has my button, and I want to clean this intro scene up. I want to start doing stuff with here, but I think this is better left because I'm going to modify my scenes anyway. I'm going to make like an intro scene where it says start, right? You know, slot machine. It'll say slot machine and start. That's what I'm probably going to do for my intro scene. And by the way, I'm giving you some free marks here because I'm telling you to make 3 scenes, and in your assignment 2 requirements, it doesn't say to make 3 scenes. It just asks you for 1. So I'm giving you some free marks right now if you follow me, right? So let's do this. So I'm going to, in my left cave button, I'm going to change this later. So I think this is a great place to add it to add to my Git repository and connect to GitHub and connect it to Up Online. Now I have a problem. Because I've removed some images, it's going to break when I put it up online because there isn't any more intro cave. None of those images are there, so it's going to come up blank. Don't worry about that right now. I know it. All I'm doing is creating a space. All my containers are going to be ready to go. I'm creating my environment, all my development environment. I want to finish that piece because that is a key piece for you to do. If you don't finish that piece and you wait to put it up on GitHub and deploy to Azure later, you're going to have a problem. And because you're going to try and do that later, too late. And if it doesn't work, you're going to have to do all this stuff I'm doing now later. And you know what I say, right? I'll tell you this one. I know it's a common saying. 1 ounce of prevention is worth a pound of pain, right? So, actually it's called a pound of cure. But 1 ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? I don't want to cure myself later. I want to prevent it now, right? So I want to do all my hard work now, get everything ready to go, and then fix it later. And then I'm in good shape, right? Let's do that. So I'm going to go into my command prompt here, and I'm going to say git add dot, git commit -m initial commit. There we go. So I've done that piece. Now I need a repository online. I don't have that yet. I need to make one. So I'm going to go to Centennial College here, and I'm going to make a new repository. And by the way, if you're behind, you can always go to this repository and clone this one, because I've just, to save some time, right? So I'm going to call this thing COMP397 slot machine demo, right? For winter 2016. There it is. And create repository. Yay, I got a space for it. I'm going to take these 2 lines here. So cut, copy, paste. And the same thing for the last one, just I'm really lazy today. I'm even going to type the push this time. And go back in here and paste that too. And then I've pushed everything up to GitHub. Yay! Refresh GitHub and you can see the changes. Notice how it says COMP397 slot machine demo now. It's up here. And you can find it on Centennial College. GitHub /Centennial College /COMP397 W2016 slot machine demo. If you go there now, you'll find it. Cool. Let's make a connection. I'll keep this up for a second with Azure. So I'm going to go to portal.azure.com. and I'll log in as myself. And I was having some issues with this last week for whatever reason. Don't know why. But it was taking a little bit of time to kind of pull up. All right, cool. I'm going to click the plus to create my new container up on Azure, right? And I'm going to go to Web and Mobile, and I'm going to go to Web App. So I'm doing this all up front, right, as opposed to before. Now on Azure, I'm going to make this called COMP397 Winter 2016, and it's going to be Slot Machine Demo, right? There it is. And mine's pay as you go. Yours will be DreamSpark. Click Create. It's going to create the container for me. Now for you, you wouldn't call it that. You would call yours whatever your unique name is going to be. And sometimes people, what they do is they kind of call after themselves. Like they might say, you know, your last name, whatever it is. My last name would be too long, like Tuliopolis Slot Machine, like too long, right? But it would still be unique, right? And it's just an identifier for you to test. That's just your testing ground. If you had a real website, by the way, you could point your website to the new Azure website. And by the way, Azure includes an HTTPS access as well. If you go HTTPS instead of HTTP, it'll work free for the same website. Okay, cool. So I've got my container. And if I go up on continuous deployment, just like we did before, I'm going to continuous deploy knowing that it will break. I know it will break because I don't have those images anymore, right? It's just, I want to set up my workflow. That's all I'm doing, okay? Let's try this out. So I'm going to click Configure, and I'm going to go GitHub. After it configures GitHub, I'm going to choose my account type, which is Centennial College. That's my organization. I'm going to click my project, which is going to be this new one, COMP397, right? Winter 2016 Slot Machine. And press OK. Just there, you've got points, right? Because you're going to get 2 points for GitHub just by just doing this. And at least right now, because it's still deployed, whether it works or not, 2 points right now if it doesn't work. Up on, but it's deployed. I have the web address, but it doesn't work somehow. It's an error. 2 points for deploying to Azure. So I've just got 4 points out of my 68 right now, if you follow what I just did. Now, I also did a couple of other things. I've also set up TypeScript, which is worth 2 points. That's 6, right? And I've also set up my files, which is another 2 points. That's 8. So I've just given you 8 free points, right? Right now, if you were just to follow me here on assignment number 2, okay? Let's wait till this deploys. I'm not going to test it because I know it's going to fail. I'll fix it later. Yay, it's done. Okay, cool. I've got my whole workflow right now. Now I can start working on my game. Now I'm going to do what Selena said. I want to set up my background screen. I want to do some of that web work, some of that graphic work. That's the next piece I'm going to do. But before I do that, I want to set up my scenes so it says start with Slot Machine on it, some basic start scene, a basic end screen that says end. Thank you for playing Slot Machine, which is easy to do. And then my main scene, which is going to say Slot Machine goes here, which is going to replace with actual Slot Machine, so that I can make sure that my project works. Okay, let's try this out. Again, I'm just templating at this point. And this will be version 2, right? Version 2 of my files. So it'll be the second commit that I'm going to make. Let's check this out. So I'm going to go back here, and now I'm going to start modifying my scenes. So here's my first scene. I know I don't need my image. I don't need this intro image, so I'm going to get rid of it here. So this is my class. I'm into my scenes. I'm looking at my intro scene, right? And I can call this my intro scene, or I can call it my menu scene. Intro scene works okay, but I think menu scene might be the better way to call it. So I'm going to make a new scene here. I'm going to make a new scene, new file. I'm just going to use this as a template, right? I'm going to call this thing menu. So I'm going to make a menu that says start or whatever, right? And maybe I should maybe mention it, rename that stuff. Menu.ts, huh? How about that? Yay, nothing in there, right? And I'm going to take my intro scene, here it is, and copy everything, and go into my menu scene and paste everything. Okay, cool. I got to rename this thing from intro to menu because I don't want to do that. So there's my menu scene. Yay, cool. At this point, I could get rid of intro. I don't need it. And I can probably get rid of my other scenes as well. Right? But that means that I have to go and modify my game.ts file as well, because my game.ts file has my switchboard. This is my switchboard right here. That looks at my intro scene and my left cave and my right cave. I got to change all this so it reflects my new state. My beginning, my menu, my game scene, which would be called Slot Machine, and my end scene, which is the game over scene, right? Okay, cool. So I know what I need to do. Let's go back into that menu TS. I don't need my left cave and my right cave button. I don't need those. I need a start button. That's what I need. So let's get rid of all this and call it start button. So underscore start button, right? And it's going to be of type objects.button, right? That's what I need up here. And I don't need this intro image, so I'm going to get rid of this, right? So that's gone. And I don't need my left cave button. I need my start button. So I'm just going to rename this thing start button. So right click and then refactor, rename symbol. Instead of left cave button, it's going to be called start button. So let's just do that. Start button. And I can't rename this element because I already have a start button. Okay, that's right, because I've already named it up here. Nah, I should have done it differently. That's okay. Paste, paste, paste. Right, that's what I need to do. I don't need my right button anymore because that's got to go. So I only need one button. It's going to be the start button right now. It's going to be gone. So all this is gone. Yay. I'm saying yay a lot because, you know what, I'm happy. It makes me happy when I start doing this kind of stuff, right? All I'm doing is aligning my first scene, right? My first scene is just the menu scene. Okay, cool. It's not going to be left cave. It's going to be start button. So my start button. There we go. And again, after I'm done, if you want to check your GitHub to see what I've done, you can certainly compare mine with yours. Okay, cool. I don't want to offset. This is an offset because my left cave button would have been on the left side of my screen and my right cave button would have been on the right side of my screen. I just want it to be center screen, so I'm just going to leave that center. And center Y plus 180 is okay because I want to use some kind of, well, maybe not 180, but maybe something like 80, right? Because I want to move it down a little bit so it has the start button on the bottom and then some kind of message at the top, right? Which I don't have a space for yet. And I'm not going to make it left cave button. It's just going to be the start button, right? Because I know I have a start button somewhere. If you're not sure about that, you can always go to your references. If I go back to my game.ts, and if I look at my manifest up here, I have a start button that looks like right here, right? That's what I'm going to be calling start button, right? There we go. So there's my start button. And I've just broken it out like this in different lines so you can see it here on the screen. Not because you have to do this. I just broken it out so it just fits on one page for you. Okay, my start button isn't going to call my left cave button click. That doesn't make sense. It's going to call my start button click, right? Well, let's rename this thing so that I don't have to do that error again, right? So right click, I'm going to rename symbol, and I'm going to call this underscore start button click. And now it's going to rename everything properly, right? There it is. I don't need this one. Right? Here's my start button click. There it is. And this is going to move from my scene. I don't have this scene yet, but my scene is going to be called slot machine. Slot underscore machine. Now, I don't have that in my config. I got to change that too, right? I don't have that scene yet, but I will. So if I'm going to do this to change my scene to slot machine, right? That's cool. Let's leave that here for a second. Let's finish my scene off because then I can copy my scene a couple times, right? I want to have some kind of text in my scene, and I know my text is going to be like "Welcome to Slot Machine." So I'm going to call this kind of like intro label, and it's going to be I'm going to use the label class. Hey, I have a label class I never used yet, right? So I'm going to go into my objects, and under objects I have a label class. Here it is. And what does it take? It takes a string, my font, right, my color, and my X and Y coordinates. That's what it takes. And it does all this stuff here. So I don't have to do that myself. So I'm going to use this class. By the way, it's been built into your templates this whole time. I just haven't used it. Okay, cool. Let's check this out. So I'm going to go back to menu. And I'm going to go into my start function, right? And inside there, before my button, I'm going to put together my label. But I need a space for it. I need to kind of instantiate it here or declare it here. So private, I'm going to call this thing like welcome label or whatever you want to call it. Welcome label. And it's going to be of type objects.label, right? There's my objects.label. And in here, I'm going to add the welcome label to the scene, to the menu scene. That's what I'm doing. Okay, add the welcome label to the main scene. I'm going to say this dot underscore welcome label is equal to a new objects dot label. And it takes a couple of things it's listening for. One is, I'm going to break this over a couple of lines, just like I did the button, just to make it easier to read. One thing I'm going to do in here is put in my, and notice what it asked for, just to show you again. It gives me some code hinting. It says, I need a label string. Okay, so my label string, and then a label font and a label color. So my label string is going to be called, slot machine. Slot machine in caps, like this. That's what I want, right? And then my label font is going to be Consolus. And it's going to be 40 pixels, right? Or 80 or 60 pixels, something like that. So it's like this, 60 pixels, right? Consolus. I'm going to break it out in a second so you can see it all. And the next thing I need is my label color, which is in hexadecimal. So it's pound, and I'm going to make it like, I don't know, black. So 000000. There we go. And then my X and Y coordinates for my label, which is going to be center X and center Y. So config.screen, config.screen, right? Dot center X, and then config.screen dot center Y. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm good. I just want to, you can't see it all, and I want to break it out for you. So I'm going to press semicolon. And then what I'm going to do is just to make it so you can see it, I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to put this down here, right? And this down here. And so you can see the whole thing. This is what it actually looks like. And that's what you should have. Yeah? So there's my welcome label. Okay, cool. I've got my start button. I've got my left cave. Oh, that's not right. Let's rename this thing to start button here. Start button event listener, right? My start button dot on click. Go to my start button click. I've got my, I add everything to the stage, and now it's listening for slot machine. Well, there is no slot machine, so let's fix my config. So I'm going to go to my config folder, go to my config.ts file, and notice I have some states. Here's my scenes. My intro scene doesn't exist. It's going to be called menu. And my left cave doesn't exist. It's going to be called slot machine, slot underscore machine. And you know what? My right cave doesn't exist. It's going to be called game underscore over this time. All right, just to make it so it's readable. Right, so I can go to my menu scene, I can go to my slot machine scene, or I can go to my game over scene. Okay, very simple. Okay, cool. Let's go back to my menu. Right? Here's my menu.ts, and now my error is gone, right? This is great, right? I got to make some changes, though, in a second. So I can get rid of all the rest of the stuff. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So in my hierarchy, I have, just to show you what I got here, I got my intro, and I got my left cave, and I got my right cave, and a bunch of files. I want to get rid of all those things here in the operating system. So I'm going to go to my scripts, and I'm going to go to my my scenes, and I don't need my intro scene or my left cave scene or my right cave scene anymore. I'm just going to get rid of them all. Right, so get rid of this, move to trash, right, move this to trash, and I'm going to move this to trash. So all I've left with is my menu scene, which I haven't transpiled yet. Right, that's all I have here right now. Let's transpile now. So I'm going to go here back to the thing. I'm going to save all. And I'm going to press Command-Shift-B on the Mac, Control-Shift-B on Windows, and it's going to transpile. I have some errors. I know I would. And I'm going to have some errors in my game.ts file, right? So if I go to my game.ts file for a second, let's see that one. Here's my game.ts file. Oops. My config is a problem too, but let's go to my core game.ts. I've got some errors here, right? And here they are. There's no intro scene, so I got to fix that. That's going to be menu, right? And this one is going to be my slot machine, right? And this one is going to be my game over, right? So game over scene, right? And because I have these names, I'm going to just change what it says here too in my my console log, right? Because I'm going to make sure I'm just using console log just to tell me that I'm loading one scene after the other. Right? And the same thing goes with all these. I'm just changing all this so it makes sense, right? slot machine, my menu scene, my slot machine scene, and my game over scene, right? There it is. Okay, cool. Notice that my intro doesn't make any sense anymore because I've got a couple of objects up here. I've preloaded all my scenes as objects, right? That's what I did for my slot machine, sorry, for my the new Dragon projects. So this doesn't make any sense up here, so I'm going to get rid of these two in my game.ts file. So I'm going to say var, let's start doing the menu, right, is of type object or scene, thank you, scene, scenes.menu, right? I don't have the other ones, but I know what they're going to be, so let's put them in, right? So var, my new one is going to be called slot machine, right, which is going to be of type scenes. I don't have this yet, but it's going to be called slot machine. So I'm just gonna put it in here. Var game over, which is going to be type of scenes dot game over, right? So I need those. That's just my game scenes. Now don't worry about the errors right now. I'm going to get rid of those soon. It's all set up. And now, of course, this first area in my switchboard, instead of these pieces, I'm going to keep the same process, but it's going to be called menu, and this is going to be called scenes.menu with a capital M, and we're going to call this menu, right? And just to keep it the same way, this is going to be called slot machine, and it's going to be scene slot machine with slot machine. And same thing goes here, game over, right? And this one is game over and game over. So I've changed all those names. Now I still got lots of errors, but I'm gonna get rid of these. This one's okay. There's a couple of other problems. I need to take care of my index.html. Here's my index.html. Yay. Well, I don't have a right cave, a left cave, or an intro scene. I got to change all that, and I want to start off my menu scene on the bottom. Why do I set up my menu scene at the bottom of all my scenes? This is a technical question for you guys. Why would I start my menu scene at the bottom of all my scenes? Think about it. My menu scene is going to have access to everything before it, right? So the right thing to do is declare all your other scenes first, and then have your menu scene access those scenes. So you do it in reverse order. I want my game over scene at the top, right? So game over is what it's going to be called. My slot machine here, slot machine, right? And then my intro or menu here. That's what it's going to be. Here. Now, if this is the way it is, I got to change my references, right? See where I'm going? I'm just changing everything so it's what it's going to be. I'm just using this as a scaffold, right? Which means this one is going to be my game over. I don't have that yet. It's going to be an error. That's fine. My left cave is going to turn into my slot machine. And my intro is going to be my menu, which is not going to error out because I already have that. Yay, lots of errors now still. Don't worry, we're going to get rid of that. Back to my menu.ts, right? I've got my menu.ts. That's great. Let's copy it 2 times and change the name so they go to slot machine for my slot machine container, and I'm going to change my game over to my game over scene and change the buttons. Let's do that. I don't need a button for my slot machine, but I do need a button for my game over scene. So let's make my game over scene first. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go over here and paste. And it's going to give me another menu 1. We're going to rename this thing. That's another way of doing it. We're going to rename this thing. It's going to be called game over. All lowercase. Okay, here's my gameover.ts. And on the top where it says menu, I'm going to change it to game, capital G, capital O. That's going to fix it, right? I don't need my start button in my game over scene. What I need in my start button, in my game over scene, right, is a restart button, right? I want to restart. Do I have a restart button in my assets? Let's take a look. I have a start over button. That will do, my start over button. So that's the one I want to use. So let's do that one. For my game over scene, I want to use a start over button. That's fine. In the future, though, we may change that to restart, okay, or go back to menu or something like that. But for now, start over is okay. So my start over, I'll undo that. My start over button. So rename. So I'm going to go to this one, highlight it. I'm going to say rename symbol, and it's going to be start over button. There we go. So my symbol's renamed. Yay. And do the same thing for my start over button click, this one. So just copy this one, rename this symbol, start over button. So start over button click. Change that one. That's done there too. My start over button is not going to point to, it's going to point to slot machine, just like the other one did. So my start over button is my game over button, right? So it's going to go back to slot machine too. So this is correct. This thing here, right? It's not going to say slot machine though. It's going to say game over, right? So I'm going to change this right now to game over. And that means my welcome label is going to be a game over label, right? Game over. So my welcome label up here, I'm going to rename this thing, refactor rename, right, to game over label, right? And rename that label, right? Because my game over label is the one that's going to be added. Oh man, I forgot to do something. And I forgot to do it on menu.ts, which means, darn it, it's going to have a problem, right? It's going to have a problem because my menu label, right? Don't worry about the errors here because it's in the same objects folder right now, and I haven't finished doing my menu yet. I need to add it to the scene, right? So I say one thing I forgot to do is this dot add child and then this dot underscore welcome label, because otherwise I wouldn't add it to the scene, right? Welcome label. I need to add that in, right? This dot add child, right? If I don't do that, then it wouldn't add. And I forgot to put a semicolon at the end of this thing too. Sorry. So I need to get those two things done properly. So I'm just going to copy these little two pieces and go back to my gameover.ts and put them in. Wait a minute. Go back. What is this? That's wrong. Let's put this here. Sorry. It's got to be underneath not inside. Otherwise it'll be a problem. This, like this. Sorry. All right. I'll be okay. And it won't be welcome label. It'll be game over label, right? That you're adding in. Sorry, guys. Here we go. That's what it's got to look like, because I have to add my label to the scene, right? Otherwise it won't show up. Okay, so my game over label is done. It says game over. My start over button is there. It's cool. My start over button on click works and everything else. And I'm pretty much done my game over scene for now, right? So my game over scene is done. Save. Transpile. Yay. One more error to take care of, and that's my other scene, my last scene, which is my middle scene, my slot machine scene. Let's load that up now really quickly. So I'm going to make a new file for this one. So underneath my scenes, I'm going to right click, put new file, and it's going to be called slot machine, all lowercase, slot machine.ts. There we are, slot machine.ts. And in my slot machine.ts, I'm going to take my menu.ts file. And by the way, don't worry about it being a duplicate. It's because I have it open. Right, so the best thing to do is just close all these off for a second, because sometimes it thinks it's a duplicate where there's no duplicate. Right, there we go. So here's my slot machine.ts. There it is. And in my slot machine.ts, what I want to do is I want to change this thing so it says slot machine. Right. So I'm going to use this menu.ts as a default. This is weird, but we can fix it. I'm going to copy everything. I'm going to go back into my slotmachine.ts and paste. And up here, instead of menu, it's going to say slot machine. Yay. There we go. I don't need a button for my slot machine, right? I'm going to make my buttons afterwards. So let's just get rid of it for now. And just to know that we're there in my slot machine, right? I'm going to kind of take away my I'm going to change my label to say slot machine, right? So we're not going to see my game over scene. We won't be able to get to it yet, but we'll get to it later. So let's get rid of this start button. Here's my welcome label. And my welcome label is going to change, right, just to a slot machine label for now. And we'll change it after. Rename slot machine label. There we are, slot machine label. And we're going to call this thing, instead of slot machine, we're going to say game goes here, right? Just to tell you this is where the game goes. We're not going to have a start button or any of this stuff right now, so we're going to get rid of it all, right? There we go. And this is my, and this is called my slot machine label, right? So my slot machine label goes right here. Slot machine label. There it is. And I don't need this. I don't need this event handler at all, so I'm just going to get rid of it for now. We can put it back later. We have some examples of that too. So this is my slot machine scene updates here. So it's pretty simple. My slot machine is done. Okay, let's transpile. And we shouldn't have any errors, but let's go to the errors and see what they are. So my declaration is an issue, right? So one is my script scenes, my declaration or statement is expected, right? And what is it talking about? Well, I have this extra little piece here. That's a problem. I kind of left that in. It was an actual issue. It's not, shouldn't be there. That's got to go. So that's my error. That takes care of that. And let's transpile again. And I have my last one, which is this menu.ts. It says I've got this extra piece here, so I can get rid of that. I don't need that one. And that means my game.ts probably, my gameover.ts is probably bad too. Well, no, it's good. Okay with that one. But my menu.ts shows a bunch of things, and it says, well, my menu is been declared somewhere before. Where has it been declared before? Did I make a mistake in my game.ts somewhere? Let's take a look, right, really quickly. I didn't do it here. This is no errors here anymore, right? Notice. And, oh, this is a problem. So this is, instead of thing, it's got to say menu. And did I make a mistake by doing menu up here? No. So let's just transpile this. And there's no errors. So just avoid it. Just ignore it, right? No errors. Okay, cool. Now that we have no errors, we got 28 changes. I'm going to just use my file here and do it here from my inside my Visual Studio Code. You can do it from command line. I'm going to say updated project for slot machine. There's a lot of changes, right? And then that's version 2. And I'm going to push this to GitHub. So if everything goes well, right, then we should have a menu, a start button, all that kind of stuff. Let's test it remotely this time for the first time, and then we'll end the day. So I'm going to go up to Azure, and I have a link for it now. Here it is. Let's test the link for the first time and see if I messed up. Slot machine, right? Here it is on Azure. I click start. It should take me to the thing that says game goes here, right? And then my last one, if I can get to it, would say game over. So here is the first place I would start. And now you have it. You have your assignment 2 shell. Okay, this is where I would do. And in here where it says game goes here, next day we'll get together. Sorry, we can get to it today, Selena. But I will do a graphic background where I will start absolutely defining what my slot machine is going to look like before I do any logic. My logic, that's going to be last, right? That's going to be all inside my my slot machine. This thing here, this little scene right here, which is my slot machine scene, that's going to contain all my logic pretty much for my game, right in here. But your shell is done. This is the big piece right here. Believe me, look, we just took an hour to do this. I just saved you guys an hour of development time, right? At home, maybe more, right? Making some changes, trying to figure things out, whatever. Now you can paint these things the way you like. You can make this thing as nice as you like for your slot machine. And that's what I'm expecting. Okay, so guys, thank you so much. Good luck with your project tonight. Assignment number 1 is due tonight at midnight, right? And we'll see you next week on Friday. Send me emails if you have any questions around what we just did today. But, or if we catch each other on the calls. If you need to make an appointment, please, I'm available Fridays, typically between 2 and 2:30, okay? For next week. Thanks. Yes.